Welcome to AiTales, the YouTube channel where imagination and technology merge to bring you captivating stories like never before. Let's begin. It was a typical Monday morning for Rachel, or so she thought. She had just dropped off her daughter, Kylie, at school and was on her way to work when her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number but answered anyway. "Rachel, we have your daughter. If you want to see her again, you need to follow our instructions exactly. Don't involve the police or anyone else. You have just 3 hours to make the first payment." Rachel's heart dropped to her stomach. She could hear her daughter's muffled voice in the background, crying for her. She pulled over to the side of the road and listened as the instructions were given to her. She was told to withdraw $25,000 in cash and drop it off at a specific location in the next hour. She didn't know what to do. She was a single mother who worked as a nurse, and $25,000 was more money than she had ever seen in her life. But she knew that she would do anything to get her daughter back. She didn't even know who had taken her daughter or why. Rachel drove to the bank and withdrew the money, her hands shaking as she counted out the bills. She then drove to the location where she was instructed to drop off the money, which was a deserted parking lot on the outskirts of town. As she approached the parking lot, she saw a car pull up behind her. She recognized it as the same car that had followed her on the way to the bank. A man got out of the car and approached her, taking the bag of money from her and handing her a burner phone. "Your daughter will be returned to you once you complete the next task," he said, before getting back in his car and driving away. Rachel was left standing alone in the parking lot, clutching the burner phone and wondering what was going to happen next. She had no idea what the chain was, or what they wanted from her. But she knew that she had to keep following their instructions if she ever wanted to see her daughter again. Rachel felt like she was in a daze as she drove home, her mind racing with questions and fears. She was relieved to see that her house was still intact and that there were no signs of a break-in. But as she stepped inside, she realized that her life would never be the same again. The burner phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. She answered it hesitantly, not sure what to expect. "Rachel, we need you to take out a loan for $50,000. You have until the end of the day to do this. We will contact you with further instructions once the loan is secured." Rachel couldn't believe what she was hearing. How was she supposed to take out a loan for that much money in one day? She had a good credit score, but it was unlikely that any bank would give her that kind of loan without any collateral or explanation. She spent the rest of the day trying to figure out how to get the money. She called every bank and lending institution in the area, but they all turned her down. She even tried to sell some of her possessions online, but no one was interested in buying anything at such short notice. As the day wore on, Rachel's desperation grew. She was running out of time, and she had no idea what would happen if she failed to follow the chain's instructions. She was afraid that they might harm her daughter, or worse. Just as she was about to give up, the burner phone rang again. "Rachel, we have found a lender who is willing to give you the money. They will contact you shortly with the details. Once the loan is secured, you will receive further instructions." Rachel's heart sank. She had no idea what kind of loan she was getting or what kind of interest rate she would be charged. But she knew that she had no choice but to go along with the chain's demands. The lender contacted her a few minutes later and gave her the details of the loan. Rachel signed the paperwork without even reading it, too afraid to ask any questions. As she hung up the phone, she realized that she was way over her head. The chain had her firmly in their grasp, and she had no idea how she was going to break free. The next few days were a blur for Rachel. The chain had taken over her life completely, and she found herself doing things she never thought possible. She had to quit her job as a nurse because she couldn't take time off to follow the chain's instructions. She spent all her time running errands, making payments, and waiting for the next set of instructions to come through. It was a never-ending cycle, and Rachel felt like she was losing her mind. She was constantly worried about her daughter's safety and had no idea who was behind the chain or what they wanted. One day, she received a call from the chain with a new set of instructions. "Rachel, we need you to kidnap a child. We have chosen a target for you. You will receive further instructions once the child is in your possession." Rachel was horrified. She couldn't believe what she was being asked to do. But she also knew that she had no choice. If she didn't follow the chain's instructions, they would harm her daughter. She followed the instructions and managed to kidnap the child. She felt like a monster, but she knew that it was the only way to keep her daughter safe. As she waited for further instructions, she started to piece together some of the clues she had gathered over the past few weeks. She realized that the chain was a network of parents who had all been forced to do the same thing she was doing. They were all being controlled by someone, but she had no idea who that someone was. The next set of instructions came through, and Rachel was shocked by what she was being asked to do. She was supposed to kill the child she had just kidnapped. Rachel couldn't believe it. She couldn't bring herself to harm another child, no matter what the chain threatened to do to her daughter. She made a decision then and there that she was going to break free from the chain, no matter what it took. She had to find out who was behind this organization and put a stop to them once and for all. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to do whatever it takes to keep her daughter safe and take down the chain. Rachel knew that she couldn't do this alone. She needed help if she was going to take down the chain and keep her daughter safe. She began to research and gather as much information as she could about the chain. She tried to find connections between the parents who were being controlled, but everything seemed to be so secretive and well organized. As she was digging through online forums, Rachel stumbled upon a group of people who were discussing the chain. They all seemed to be victims, just like her, but they were also determined to take down the organization. Rachel reached out to them, and they welcomed her with open arms. They called themselves the Resistance, and they had been gathering information on the chain for years. Together, they analyzed the patterns and movements of the parents who were being controlled. They tried to track down any connections between them and the person or group who was behind the chain. Finally, they discovered a clue that could lead them to the mastermind behind the chain. They found a hidden message in the instructions that Rachel had received. It was a set of coordinates and a date. They realized that this was where and when the chain was going to meet up. The Resistance came up with a plan to infiltrate the meeting and gather evidence that would lead them to the mastermind. It was risky, but Rachel was willing to do whatever it takes to keep her daughter safe and put an end to the chain. On the day of the meeting, Rachel and the Resistance arrived at the location. They disguised themselves and made their way to the meeting room. As they listened in, they realized that the chain was a highly sophisticated organization run by a powerful group of people. They had no idea how to take them down, but they knew they had to try. Suddenly, the door burst open, and armed officers stormed into the room. They arrested everyone in the room, including Rachel and the Resistance. As they were being led away in handcuffs, Rachel heard one of the officers say, "We've been trying to take down this organization for years. You just gave us the evidence we needed to finally do it." Rachel smiled, knowing that she had done the right thing. She had put an end to the chain and had helped to keep other families safe from their cruel tactics. She looked forward to the day when she could be reunited with her daughter, knowing that they would never have to live in fear again. After a few weeks in custody, Rachel was released without charges. The authorities realized that she had been a victim of the chain and had played a vital role in taking down the organization. She was overjoyed to be reunited with her daughter and to finally be free of the chain's control. She was grateful to the Resistance for their help and support and stayed in touch with them even after the organization was dismantled. Rachel decided to use her experience to help other families who had been victims of similar organizations. She became an advocate for victims' rights and worked tirelessly to raise awareness about the dangers of these groups. She spoke at conferences, wrote articles, and even wrote a book about her experiences with the chain. She hoped that by sharing her story, she could prevent others from falling prey to these organizations. Rachel also started a support group for families who had been victims of the chain. She knew firsthand how isolating and traumatizing the experience could be and wanted to provide a safe space for others to share their stories and find support. As the years went by, Rachel watched as the chain's members were brought to justice. She was glad to see that they were held accountable for their crimes and that no other families would have to suffer the way she and her daughter had. Rachel knew that she would never forget what she had been through, but she was proud of the person she had become as a result of it. She had become a fighter, a survivor, and a beacon of hope for others who had been through similar experiences. She knew that the chain may have left scars, but she refused to let them define her or her daughter's future. They had overcome the worst, and she was excited to see what the future held for them. And that's it for today's story, brought to you by AiTales. We hope you enjoyed listening to this captivating tale brought to life by our cutting-edge AI technology. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing storytelling videos. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the latest tales we have to offer. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of the AiTales community. We can't wait to share more stories with you in the future.